Hi everyone, my name is Alex. We're here today with a co-founder of a massive incubator, E3HUBS, coming from Malaysia. This is Andrew Wong. Andrew, would you please like to introduce yourself quickly?
Hi, my name is Andrew Wong. I'm from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. And I'm a co-founder of E3Hub and happy to meet all of you.
Andrew, would you please tell me a little bit more about E3HUBS? So how did E3HUBS start and how did you form your team together?
Okay, basically E3Hub is I would call my third generation of incubator. So I've been in this business for the last 15 years. I started my first incubator in 2005. That was my version 1.0. And all along I've been very passionate about entrepreneurship, and I think I discovered my passion of helping startups to go through the Death Valley. Having been through one myself, I was in the Death Valley for about 7 years before I managed to crawl out of that hole. And then and I found out that I really don't want anyone to, especially the new startup, to go through what I've been through before. So I started the first incubator in 2005, 2006. And then that was, of course, with a partnership with an organization. That wasn't really my incubator, but we have funding to start up the incubator. So I actually, during that period of 2005, 2009, I created 3 incubators in Malaysia. We were one of the most active incubators in the country at the time. And then, of course, after that, I came out and I started my own incubator, which is called MAD Incubator. So MAD is MAD, stands for Make a Difference. And of course, it also literally means mad because entrepreneurs are mad people. If we are not mad people, then we will not be entrepreneurs. So so that's what I did. And then from there, I moved on to build incubators around the region. Okay, and then that was from 2009 to 2015. And then when 2015 came, I I I had problems relating to my investors in MAD, and as a consequence, we had to shut down a lot of our incubators. And then it was a very tough lesson to learn, and of course I went under the radar for next 3 years trying to resolve all the business issues and so on. And then in 2018 I came back and I recreated the Med Incubator and rebranded into E3HUBs.
Right.
So E3HUBs basically is the continuation of my journey as incubator expert. I I'm actually a World Bank trained incubator expert. So I train incubator managers around the world, especially in Asia. So that's one of my job. And so now with E3HUBs, we have a bigger dream. Previously, we were talking startup, but during the period where I was under the radar, I also incubated a lot of other startups, but they are not technology startup. They are also non-tech. So I basically seen through all kinds of industries during that 3-year period. E3HUBs, we are able to incubate different kinds of startups. That would mean tech and non-tech, and uh, and so we then had a bigger dream, not only just to expand ourselves around Malaysia, but we want to be in Southeast Asia, and if not in Asia. Our dream is to create about 1,000 entrepreneur hubs around the region and empowering at least 1 million entrepreneurs members in our entrepreneur hubs. There's a reason why we are doing that. Of course, one of it is that we really want to help entrepreneurs, and we feel that with the methodology and the experience that we had, we could do that. But essentially what we wanted to do is to create a business ecosystem. So you can imagine if we have 1 million entrepreneurs and that 1 million entrepreneurs supporting each other, it is a business ecosystem by itself. And that's what we're trying to do. So even you throw one stone, or maybe you have a new product or new service, very likely you will hit, a set of customers. So that was my dream, to build that network. Because everything that we do in business is all about network.
Yeah.
It's all about who you know, right? And that the first place you start. When you do a business, when you start a business, especially when especially entrepreneurs who are starting a business and they need a network to start, this is where we provide our network of entrepreneurs. That basically is what we wanted to achieve. What we wanted to achieve, and I would say that probably culminate my lifelong dream of creating a business ecosystem. So when I was in Matt, I was talking about Southeast Asia. But when I look at E3Hub, I'm not talking about Southeast Asia anymore. It is going to be a global initiative. That's
Exciting.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this kind of ties into my next question is, what is the current E3 Hubs view? Like, how many startups have you guys got in your roster? And are you looking to acquire any big new startups soon?
The interesting part about this is this. When we talk about incubation, right? You start to imagine physical facilities. So that's what incubators,
Yeah, yeah.
define. But because of COVID, now the business direction had to change. We can't talk about physical incubators anymore.
Mm,
So previously, when we started E3 Hubs in 2018, we had physical hubs in Malaysia as well as in Philippines and in Vietnam. We had a hindsight that COVID-19 is going to change everything. So what we did, we shut down all our incubators. We shut down all our hubs. So
mm,
those hubs now been shut down, and we went online. We actually now incubating our startup online. That actually opens up a different world for E3 Hub, because now we not only able to reach out to just our local Malaysian entrepreneurs, but we can reach out to anyone in the world who can become our incubatees. So, so what we did was we created a membership program. We call it the Effectuator Lifetime Membership, and that means that with one fee, we put it at Ringgit Malaysia 199. If you
mm.
translate that into US dollar, it's probably about 45 USD. One off. It's a lifetime membership. Okay.
Quite cheap.
And we basically going to use it as a virtual incubation program. So whoever
Mm,
signs up will actually be a virtual incubatee of E3 Hubs. And we actually have our, we run a workshop, mastermind, and then we also run accountability, performance monitoring program through
mm,
our network. That was actually now our business strategy, is to create that virtual platform. So we had the virtual platform already, and then onboard as many entrepreneurs or startups as we can, right? Incubate them, work with them, open up the network, the linkages, the funding, the market, and the business support to them, but doing it virtually. Because I believe now everyone is so comfortable with doing things online via
yeah,
Zoom and
yeah.
so on. So that's perfectly fine. So we have already adapted to the new normal. So now the business need to adapt to the new normal too.
Mm,
So that's exactly what we did, and that formed our baseline income. So
right.
when we had as many entrepreneurs as possible, so remember the thought of having 1 million entrepreneurs, we need to make it easy for them to come on board. So
Mm,
that forms our baseline income. And then subsequently, we start to look at how now we have that. We have all the entrepreneurs on board. So how do we work with them? What are the other value added services that they need that we can provide to them? Like for example, maybe we can do a marketplace that is specifically for our group of entrepreneurs. We can do training and development, virtual platform. You can do virtual exhibition, virtual business matching, and so
Mm.
on. So all these things we eventually, and of course, we can also do our what we call investment sourcing, financial facilitation, and so on. So all this becomes our basically monetization. So that's how, if someone were to ask me how you're going to make money with 45 USD lifetime
Mm.
kind of membership, that's exactly the answer that we are looking for. The monetization part, the cash flow income that comes
Yeah.
in, right? So that's why I told you just now. You throw one stone, you're probably going to get some of these entrepreneurs to come on board to take up some of these value-added services, and products and so on.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that is where E3HUBS is going. And right now, we have almost about 200 plus members in our Effectuator membership.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, we in our community, which includes mentors, experts, our Effectuator members, investors. In that community, we have about close to about 350 to 400
Right.
in our platform. So we are not using any platforms that the common. Uh, so when you talk about platforms, we are not using WhatsApp, we are not using Telegram, we're not using
Mm-hmm.
any of that. So we are using a Ding Talk platform. It is a collaborative platform by Alibaba. So we're
Mm.
using that to onboard our members in there and do a lot of collaborative and video conferencing and everything inside that closed loop ecosystem.
Right.
So we are
Right.
not an open loop anymore. We are actually closed loop.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. So you talked about E3 going online, COVID permitting in
Yeah.
the future. Would you like to open up hubs worldwide, physical hubs?
Yeah. Yeah. We plan to, but we are not going to make it a big physical hub where you have big co-working spaces and whatnot. It may not work in a COVID era at the moment.
Mm.
So we just want it to a place where it can be a small workplace for entrepreneurs who want to come in and work, who want to come into a network, and a place where we can run our programs and so on. So these hubs become even more manageable because we are not talking about big co-working space and we incur a lot of cost to maintain, but we're talking about small little hubs,
Mm.
really physical small hubs where the most important aspect of the hub is a meeting point between entrepreneurs in that particular area,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So then when we have all these hubs, then we string all these hubs together under a virtual platform, and this is where we have a global ecosystem. So that's
Right.
one of the things that we plan to do. So right now, we are still I work with local universities and also universities from the Philippines,
Mm-hmm.
where they are also creating their own incubators. So sometimes it need not be incubators that we create. It could be a collaboration between them and using our E3Hub branding as well. We have universities in the Philippines, universities in Malaysia. We have what you call private initiative to build innovation hubs, which we are doing one right now in Kuala Lumpur.
Mm.
So all these things, in the combination of it, will become part of our E3Hub ecosystem, physical ecosystem. So
Right.
what we learn actually is the knowledge, the services, right, that wrap around all these physical hubs. That's the key thing, right?
Okay.
So
Interesting.
yeah, if it's not for COVID, we'll probably be in Indonesia
Mm.
and Myanmar and Thailand. Uh, but now we found that it's much easier to do this because in the past, right, what we have to do is to really physically build the hub and find people to run it. Sometimes I will have to travel because I'm the mastermind behind it, So it's not that simple anymore. I mean, when we talk about the initial plan that we wanted to do, but with COVID now, traveling is made difficult. Can't travel out of the country much, right? But you can collaborate. So we can collaborate with already existing hubs and working with them, and also do joint co-incubation with existing hubs, right? With our expertise, and then we develop. Because
Exciting.
now, what is our core focus is to bring in members into our platform. That's
Yeah.
all. Uh, and it's now a virtual platform. The physical hub can be partners and that supports our E3 Hub members. You can imagine the shift in terms of business direction, in terms of business model. And I would say, thanks to COVID, um, everything become much easier. We never imagined we could actually change the model, but with COVID, we actually did that. And we didn't have a choice. We have to do it. So last time we had a choice and we weren't sure whether it worked or not, but now we had no choice. So it works perfectly well for us right now.
Yeah, and it's great you guys managed to do that so quickly. So I just wanted to ask you a little bit more, since you've been in the startup world for a very long time, is there any interesting or like surprising trends that you've seen in the past or right now in the present in Southeast Asia?
One thing I want to qualify is this. Uh, what we feel that is happening in the West does not mean that it's going to happen yet in the East. That means in our part of the region. So of course, generally, in Malaysia, especially in Southeast Asia, the main thing that is really happening now are basically e-commerce. E-commerce is now the main thing that not only just entrepreneurs are looking at, but even government is encouraging everyone to go online and create their own e-commerce businesses and so on. So of course, when we look at e-commerce, then we have to ask ourselves again, what will make e-commerce very effective? And that's where the technology incubation comes in. When we talk about consumer intelligence, we talk about logistics, we talk about what are the marketing innovation that you can come in, that will plug into all these e-commerce platforms. So that's one of the key things that people entrepreneurs in Southeast Asia is looking at. The second thing, we'll also be looking at industrial IR 4.0, because now industries need to actually quantum leap. We are not even in IR. We are probably in IR 2.0. IR 2.0 means that industrial relation. That means, in other words, right, the technology that's being adopted by our local industries right now is still it's not as sophisticated as it being adopted in, for example, in Europe, in the US, or even in Japan, Korea, and so on. So in Southeast Asia, we are still in the second generation, and now we need to quantum leap to fourth generation. That means using, robotics, using machine learning, M2M, and so on. So all these things now create the demand. This is one area that Southeast Asian companies or startups is also going to place a lot of emphasis looking at it. And of course, B2C kinds of technology that will involve big data, and machine learning, AI. These are also another area that commonly a lot of startups will be focusing as well. Apart from that, smart cities, health tech, because of COVID, that's why we are accelerating health tech development in the country, especially in Malaysia. Okay, so generally, right, all the innovation that we are looking at, the focus of the innovation is very, very localized.
Mm.
So different countries have different sets of problems, and they are very localized, right, based on the country specific in Southeast Asia.
You work with a lot of startups and a lot of young new entrepreneurs. What is your best advice for startups and co-founders who are looking to join an accelerator?
I probably won't be the right person to say this because I have a very different business philosophy.
Mm.
I'm not a subscriber of Silicon Valley kind of the way you accelerate a startup. I take a very different outlook. I'm actually a practitioner of what we call effectuation theory. So I'm an effectuator. That's why I call it effectuator
Mm.
because the theory of effectuation, when we look at accelerating or even starting up a startup business, it's always looking at the three very important things: resources, that looks at who am I, what I know, who I know. So these are resources that we can control, and then from there look at all the different uh, business aspect or business idea that we can pursue. But contrary to other types of business philosophy, is always looking at the opportunity and try to get it. But if you don't have the resources, right, there's no way you can grab the opportunity.
Mm.
So we take a very contrarian view, but it works very well for us. That having said that, right, what it means is if we know we can execute it very well because
Mm-hmm.
we have the means to do it, then very likely the acceleration will be much faster. You can
Mm.
accelerate your business even much faster, and you can possibly even get your investment to fund some of these projects even much faster. There is certain sense of clarity in terms of the business because you know you can achieve it. But if you take the other view, right, that you see in the normal business startup, uh, there's a lot of uncertainty involved.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you don't know what your number is going to be like, right?
Mm.
And the early stage of a startup is basically trying to feel your way, trying to get the right team members to be involved and getting all the different resources. And if you don't have those resources, very likely you will not even make it. That's why I always start from a very different view. Look at what you have, right,
Mm.
and ask yourself what you can do with it, and then you start acceleration. Now, it worked very well for us because why? 95% of my incubatee have achieved success. That means my success rate in incubating startups is 95%,
Mm.
right,
Wow.
based on this philosophy that we employ.
Yeah.
And I can tell you one thing, because they do that, investors look for them and not they look for investors
Mm.
because they already have track record on revenues, they have track record on profitability, and uh, eventually that's what investors in our region are looking for.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you can bring that philosophy to the rest of the world soon. You talked about your kind of dream to have 1 million entrepreneurs on your platform, but I just want to ask a final question of what's E3HUBS's plans for next year, your kind of short-term goals at the moment?
Okay, next year is all about expansion,
Mm.
right? So we want to expand our reach, and right now um, we are rebuilding our team. Actually, we are rebuilding our team and getting in more people with experience, especially in marketing, social media, in in working with startup and working with activities that are more virtual. We are also going to launch our virtual international event,
Mm.
which we call it EB Start, E with a BIZ start for business startups, and And this time we take again, we are very contrarian. So we take a very different way of, um, of, of creating a virtual event. So in what we see today is like we're trying, those event organizers that we see today are trying to actually just move a physical product into a virtual product,
Mm.
right? Physical concept into virtual concept. But it doesn't work that way. So we have to take a very different view of how we're going to organize a virtual event. A virtual event that that is engaging with our, with our participants. We don't want someone who spends 40 minutes, well, in a seminar, and probably most of the 40 minutes, you're not on screen. You're actually somewhere else, you know.
Mm.
So we want to engage participants to be more involved and engaging, in a particular event. So in this event, international event, which we plan to have it in January or February next year, it's all about having a virtual exhibition, virtual conferencing, business matching, and then we even have a marketing program for our exhibitors, and our participants, and so on. So it's going to be massive, and it may even run for the entire year. After all, it's virtual. So that's why I say it's no longer talking about a fixed date, because
Yeah.
everything is virtual. It can be even longer,
Yeah.
right?
Possibilities endless.
Yes. So the mindset needs to change.
Mm. Yeah, well, this is a very exciting future we're talking about, and hopefully there'll be more and more entrepreneurs coming, and we'll see a rise in startup culture as there is already. Thank you very much for talking to us, Andrew. And if you would like to check out E3 Hubs or Andrew, the links will be down below in the description. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see
Yes.
you next time.